All right.
Okay. I couldn't hear anything. Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear us?
Yes, now I can. I haven't been able to hear anything for a while, but getting a thumbs up from Paul there. And so shall we get this party started?
Let's do it.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
my name is Lisa. I am an addict. Welcome. Hey, welcome. And I'm grateful to be here tonight and clean. Welcome to GRCNA 41. Together we grow. Welcome to our workshop on getting and staying clean on the screen. Since GRCNA 41 is the Georgia region's second hybrid convention, allow me to address the issue of anonymity for those joining us online. When joining a virtual meeting, you will need to keep your video turned off to guarantee your anonymity. If you turn your video on, you are choosing to be seen by the other participants. You can also change your name or switch to first name plus last initial to protect your identity. Let's open with a moment of silence, followed by the Serenity Prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Welcome again to the Georgia Region's second hybrid convention, GRCNA 41, Together We Grow. Our intention for this convention is to make available to our fellowship a weekend of recovery, celebration, and fun. We hope that all addicts receive the NA message of recovery while they are participating in this event. It is our hope that the message we carry may truly let everyone know that NA is a place to recover and that no addict seeking recovery need die from addiction. If you are joining us virtually, please dress appropriately on camera. And may I ask, please, for a volunteer for a reading, which will be put up on the screen. Would somebody like to read how it works, just the front page? How about Jay?
Okay, my name's Jay and I'm an addict.
Hi, Jay.
How it works. If you want what we have to offer and you're willing to make the effort to get it, then you're ready to take certain steps. These are the principles that made our recovery possible. Number one, we admitted that we were powerless over our addiction, that our lives had become unmanageable. Two, we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Three, we made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. Four, we made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Five, we admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. Six, we were entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. Seven, we humbly asked him to remove our shortcomings. Eight, we made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. Nine, we made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10, we continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. 11, we sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood him, praying only for knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry that out. 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we try to carry this message to addicts and to practice these principles in all our affairs.
Thank you, Jay. Glenn, how would you like to read the 12 traditions that's coming up on the screen, front page only?
Yeah, hi, thanks. I'm an addict named Glenn.
Hi, Glenn.
12 traditions of NA. We keep what we have only with vigilance, and just as freedom for the individual comes from the 12 steps, so freedom for the group springs from our traditions. As long as the ties that bind us together are stronger than those that would tear us apart, all will be well. 1, our common welfare should come first. Personal recovery depends on NA unity. 2, for our group purpose, there is but one ultimate authority, and loving God as he may express himself in our group conscience. Our leaders are but trusted servants, they do not govern. 3, the only requirement for membership is a desire to stop using. 4, Each group should be autonomous except in matters affecting other groups or NA as a whole. 5, each group has but one primary purpose, to carry the message to the addict who still suffers. 6, an NA group ought never endorse, finance, or lend the NA name to any related facility or outside enterprise, lest problems of money, property, or prestige divert us from our primary purpose. 7, every NA group ought to be fully self-supporting, declining outside contributions. 8, Narcotics Anonymous should remain forever non-professional, but our service centres may employ special workers. 9, NA as such ought never be organised, but we may create service boards or committees directly responsible to those they serve. 10, Narcotics Anonymous has no opinion on outside issues, hence the NA name ought never be drawn into public controversy. 11, a public relations policy is based on attraction rather than promotion. We'd always maintain personal anonymity at the level of press, radio, and films. 12, anonymity is the spiritual foundation of all our traditions, ever reminding us to place principles before personalities.
Thank you, Glenn. Well, tonight we have 2 speakers at this meeting. I'm very excited to be chairing this and getting to introduce a couple of people that I know. The ability to have virtual meetings has been critical to a lot of us in the last 3 years, and I know that I've had a boost to my recovery and my NA participation that I haven't felt in many, many years through doing this. And one of the ways that that's happened is that I've become very fond of and attached to meetings that I still attend on a weekly basis, where in places that I've never set foot in, hundreds and sometimes thousands of miles away from me. One of those meetings is in Georgia, and our first speaker is someone who is instrumental in making sure that his meeting in Marietta continued to continue and to thrive and to be available to many people that, once again, never got anywhere near Georgia. I've come to love and admire so many people in this meeting, and the person that I'm about to introduce is someone that just means so very much to me, and he's been part of things here in Indiana, so I'm glad to be able to return the favor. And without further ado, our first speaker is Sean.
Thank you, Lisa. My name's Sean, and I'm an addict.
Hi, Sean.
Hey, family. It's an honor to be here tonight. I am going to be talking a little bit about staying clean on the screen. So I'm going to start by just talking about the experience that I've had with this, and we'll go from there. So when the pandemic hit, 2020 quickly came to the realization that as an addict with multiple diseases outside of addiction, with compromised immune system, various other things, that I was going to have to quickly come up with a way to stay engaged and stay connected to the Fellowship of Narcotics Anonymous, especially with even in Georgia, some very early in the pandemic, some of the meeting places started to shut down really quickly. Before there was a lockdown, there were several places where NA meetings were meeting that were already starting to shut down very early on. So it became apparent right away. My experience in NA has been that as I have participated in the program and seen very many people come and go in NA, one of the first things that I see in people who are headed for a relapse or disconnect from NA, or they stop coming to meetings and stop talking to people and stop networking. So I knew right away I didn't want to be one of those people through a pandemic. I had to come up with some way to stay connected. So started doing some research and found out that there were already several virtual NA meetings that had been going on for years in NA. So I attended a couple of those meetings, and I watched and learned the way they worked. I actually ran into an addict from the Marietta area that was working one of those meetings, and I still had his number. So I reached out to him and I told him about the situation, and he immediately started sending me information about how to run a virtual meeting and the even just the documents, the meeting readings to put up on the screen, and the images of the key tags, and all the little things that you don't necessarily think about until you sit down trying to put an NA meeting together without a set of key tags or without the meeting readings, because they're locked in a room down the street and you can't get in there anymore. So right away figured out, like, this is what we're going to have to do. And I remember sitting down with my wife, who's also in recovery, and saying, you know what, I think I can figure this out. I think I'm going to start up the Zoom thing and become familiar with that platform and figure out how to start running our meeting virtually because I think we're going to need to. And sure enough, we did. We basically we took the platform, we took the form out of the meeting and changed it. And we set up the Zoom and published it on the websites, and we started doing things virtually. At the time, again, my plan was really to find a way to stay connected to NA for myself and for the people in our home group. And what I basically was doing was, it was kind of a short-term strategy initially. It was like, how are we going to survive this initial lockdown and not being able to meet in person? And then once we had gotten through that, the plan was really to kind of return to in-person meetings and not necessarily need this Zoom platform and the virtual version of our home group. So we published it. We started running the meeting on the same nights that we were doing the in-person meeting. And what happened was that people from all across the country started joining the meeting. And I had really not thought about that. Again, my goal was to stay connected as a home group in the Marietta area, and hopefully see some people that were here in the area and continue a connection. At the time, it really never crossed my mind that it would become a little viral and people would start to find the link. And the interesting part about that is that it developed into a home group, a real home group. I'm old school. I've been around here for a little while. I'm like, how do you stay clean by not getting hugs? And how do you stay clean by not having a meeting in the parking lot before the meeting, or a meeting after the meeting in the parking lot? Like, those things were important and were keys to me, to my recovery. What I learned pretty quickly was that if I logged in and started the meeting 15 or 20 minutes early, there was a meeting before the meeting. Like, we would have it virtually. People would join and they would start talking about what was going on with them. And after the meeting was over, there were people that would stay and we would talk, and sometimes 20, 30 minutes after the meeting. And all of a sudden, sort of what started happening was the virtual NA meeting environment started to mimic the in-person meeting environment. I get a little emotional about this because I did not expect that either. I expected it to be like, we're all going to log in, we're going to read the meeting readings, we're going to have a subject, we're going to share about it, and then the meeting's going to be over, and then everybody would disband. We'd get a meeting, we'd be connected, but not necessarily see this metamorphosis of just a virtual meeting, just people getting together as a group, turning into a home group, or turning into something that mimicked an in-person meeting, with the meeting before the meeting and the meeting after the meeting. And I remember distinctly the first time there was a fellow joined the meeting, and at the end of it, he was like, "Hey, do you guys have a few minutes? I need to run something past a few guys," and a few of the guys stayed on the meeting and we listened to him talk about it, and just like walking up to somebody in a parking lot, it was actually kind of amazing. So this it developed into a family. We developed into a home group virtually, and we were meeting in addition. So at one point in time, the facility that our home group met in returned and allowed us as addicts access back to the room that we met in person with. So the group returned to the in-person meeting. And so we had to make a decision as a home group. I remember we had a group conscience. It was the first time it was a hybrid group conscience. So we met and someone brought their laptop to the room and we all joined in the Zoom, the people that were members of the home group and the in-person people were in the room. And we had our group conscience and we talked about, do we continue having the virtual part of this meeting now that the room's back open again? And I remember being prepared for, like, this is not going to continue. You know, the group is back, it's in person. There's not really, quote, a need to return to keep the virtual meeting going. And I remember I was overwhelmed by the support, like not just the people that had joined the Zoom meeting from different parts of the country that were part of the home group, but the people that were there in the room in person were like, no, let's keep it going. We see the need. Like, not everybody can get here. And we've developed into a home group. And so, I mean, it was a really cool moment where we as a group had decided that we were going to continue not just the in-person, and we weren't going to do it hybrid. We were going to have a virtual version of our home group at the same meeting time and days that we were going to have an in-person group. And we're still doing it. Almost 3 years later, we're still doing the same thing. I wanted to also talk a little bit too, just about the experience as an addict, being a part of that. I saw people show up to the Zoom meeting as a newcomer that had never been to an in-person meeting. Literally their first meeting, they went on to a website, either the NA website or the Marietta area local website, and they clicked a link to join a virtual meeting for their first NA meeting ever. Had never been to an NA meeting. And I remember the first couple of times that happened being very concerned about making sure that they felt welcome and that it was warm and inviting, and it wasn't just a group of people on the screen, that we were there for a purpose to have a meeting, you know. And I remember at the end of those meetings, people that had joined in their first NA meeting were like, wow, this was great. I didn't expect this to feel like home. I didn't expect it to feel like a family. You know, it was awesome. Again, another one of those scenarios where I just wasn't expecting the outcome at all. It was really kind of a means to an end, and it was kind of a beautiful metamorphosis of seeing people join a meeting for the first time and getting clean in a virtual NA meeting. I picked up people as sponsees in the virtual meeting. I am sponsoring people now that literally I've never met in person before. We've worked steps over Zoom. We have conversations on the phone. If something's really serious going on and they really want FaceTime, we'll hop on Zoom and we have a camera meeting and we see each other's faces. And you know, to this day, there are 2 guys in the program that I'm sponsoring, and we're into working the steps, and I've never met them in person. They live in a totally different part of the country. It's absolutely amazing. I never thought that would be a reality. You know, I really didn't. I never thought about it that way. Another thing that happened too was initially it was myself running the meeting. I had figured out how to host it and had all the tools and the files to display and the platform, and I was running the meeting. And it, quite frankly, it got exhausting to do that a couple of times a week and to always be available. So we started opening it up to the home group members, and we started training people on how to run a Zoom meeting and how to, well, you know, we had created a trusted servant position of hosting and chairing a virtual meeting in our home group. And that was the first time that I had ever experienced that, where people were willing to learn how to do this and commit their time as a trusted servant to run a virtual meeting. And we continue to do that today. You know, we have multiple members that have the ability to be able to do it, so that it's not necessarily overwhelming or a burden for one individual or just a couple of people. The other thing that was kind of a surprise was just the family. Like Lisa that introduced me is a perfect example of that, right? There are people that are involved in my life now on a daily basis that live across the country that I haven't met in person before, that I really care about, and I know what's going on with them. I know what is happening in their lives. I know what they're going through and what their struggles are. I utilize them as part of my network now. Like if I know they have been through a particular scenario or situation that I need help getting through, I know that I can reach out and talk to them and connect with them. More than just talk to them, literally connect with them. I never imagined that would happen, especially for somebody like me that had gotten clean a long time ago and thought that, quite frankly, that it was going to be really difficult to stay engaged and to stay connected and to stay clean without going to in-person meetings. And I have committed to going back to an in-person meeting, but I'm also committed to continuing to support the virtual home group that we have as well too. And I'll say this and wrap it up to hand it off to the other person in this workshop. But I've learned that just like everything else in my recovery, I have to be open-minded. I have to be willing to see that there's an alternative to the situation and that there's a solution there somewhere. And now being able to go to an in-person meeting as well as being able to continue to attend a virtual version of that same home group, I mean, that's my new normal now. And I never would have imagined that. And just the family and the connection, and it's all there. You're capable of getting it. If you invest into the virtual environment, you're capable of getting the things that you need to get clean and to stay clean and to be connected and to be a trusted servant and to be a participating member of NA can be done virtually. And with that, I appreciate the opportunity to speak here, and I will hand the meeting back over to Lisa to introduce the next speaker. Thanks for letting me share.
Thank you so much, Sean. In our virtual meeting, we do jazz hands in appreciation. So can we have some jazz hands, please, for Sean? Thank you. Okay, well, our second speaker, I also know from this meeting in Marietta, Architects of Adversity, and just a lovely young person. She has done so much of her recovery in this virtual atmosphere, in this virtual environment, and is absolute proof of the things that Sean was talking about being able to, get clean and sustain one's clean time in a virtual setting that feels like being in the room. I know that this young woman has developed not just, friendships that she has within the virtual room and before and after in our virtual parking lot, but relationships outside of meetings that are very strong and have contributed so much to her recovery. And whenever I hear her speak, I also just feel what NA has meant to her. She loves recovery. I know it's hard sometimes, but I know she loves it. And I'm very, very pleased to be able to introduce to you your second speaker, Rachel.
Oh God. Oh, I started crying before I even started. All right. So, my name is Rachel and I'm an addict. Since I'm sharing about getting clean on the screen, I'm going to share a little bit of my story. And then I will share how I got clean on the screen, and how I've maintained my recovery and clean time virtually. if you can't hear from the accent, I'm from New York. And I found our meeting in Georgia. So anyway, I'll keep this part short because we all know, we all got here for a reason. I started using when I was 14, and my use progressively got worse, as it tends to do. I switched drugs, multiple times, tried to control it, was in denial for pretty much 20 years. Even though I think deep down I knew that I had a problem and that I wasn't able to use like everybody else. I started using to like fit in and feel more confident, and I thought that that helped, but ultimately it led to the, feelings of desperation that we feel and the low self-esteem, and shame and guilt and all that stuff that eventually leads us here. So my drug use really got bad, I think, in college. I sometimes like forgot that I was there for school and not for drugs. And then into my 20s, it continued. Eventually I switched to prescriptions, to treat, mental health conditions, but I always ended up running out of my prescriptions early. And I remember that somebody said once in a meeting, if you're running out of your medication, then it's a drug, and that really stuck with me because I was using it like it was a drug, but I thought it was okay because a doctor had prescribed it for me. So that led to years of oh, sorry, I just got distracted. Years of denial on these prescription drugs. And getting here, what made me finally decide that I needed to surrender and get help was becoming a mom. I had, and this is where I might cry. I had a really traumatic birth experience. I got very sick, and me and my baby almost died, and it was really, really tough. And the second that I could, I asked for the prescription that would help me to manage those feelings of anxiety that I had struggled with. And I had found that these, pills made me feel better in the short term. It was not a long-term solution. This is recovery is. But yeah, so I immediately started using again. I made it through pregnancy without using. I was like white knuckling it. And I realized that after going to 3 different doctors to get these, medications, that this might be a problem, and what really, really got me here was, in the Jewish tradition, we, some people do something called a naming ceremony. And I remember going through withdrawal so bad that I couldn't even hold my baby. And while the rabbi blessed him, and I was just in such a I was just not in the right place. It was just, mentally, physically, it was horrible. And I missed this opportunity, this great experience because of fucking drugs. Excuse my language. Hopefully no kids in the room. And yeah, I feel like I missed out, you know, and I wasn't able to be present like I wanted to be. And I realized that I didn't want that to be Levi as my son's life, you know. I wanted to break the cycle in my family because addiction runs in it. I didn't want him to see me pop a pill to feel better or see me go through withdrawal or, you know, all the things. I didn't want to lose him custody, you know, of him. I didn't want to die. I wanted to live. I was just so desperate, you know. And that day, that was July 3rd, I told my parents because they knew something was wrong with me. I have no poker face. I never have. And they knew that something was up, you know. So I ended up telling them, you know, I ran out of my prescription. I have a fucking problem, you know. I need help. And I looked online and all the meetings locally were closed. They didn't have any meetings. This was, you know, when the pandemic was really bad. And I don't think I would have been comfortable going to an in-person meeting anyway, because I had this tiny premature baby. I was going through withdrawal. I was like having postpartum anxiety and depression. I was just a hot mess. So Zoom was actually perfect for me, you know. And so I found on July 4th, the next day, I found a meeting in Orlando, Florida. And that was where I met the woman who would be my sponsor. I think it took me like 3 weeks to ask her. And then I also met another woman who said, hey, you should come to my home group in Georgia. And that meets on Tuesdays. And I remember, you know, I wanted to have a meeting for every day because I had heard 90 and 90, you know, and I knew that I needed to have this connection and be in this program every day, you know. It wasn't gonna work me alone going through withdrawal with my newborn baby. That was not gonna cut it. So yeah, so I came to Architects, which was my third meeting ever. My first meeting was on Sunday in Orlando. Monday, I don't even remember where it was. And then Architects, I just felt so welcome and at home. And Sean and everybody from that meeting, you know, just greeted me with open arms, and I felt like, okay, like this is home, you know. And I felt like this is where I belong. And I remember, you know, people saying the newcomer is the most important person here. And I'm like, oh my God, like, you know, that's pretty cool. You know, I remember just crying and just being a mess. And, you know, identifying when people would share, you know. I remember crying when I heard the Just for Today prayer at the end. It just gave me such hope, you know, that I could do this like one day at a time. I saw other young moms in the group, which really, really gave me hope. I was like, if they can do it, then I can do it. You know, I mean, the other people gave me hope too, but at that time, what I really needed was to see other people like me. I love the waterproof mascara. That was a mistake, but we'll see where this goes. So whatever, right? So yeah, so seeing the other young moms and, you know, getting numbers and connecting with other people, it was awesome. And I felt like I found a home in Georgia, which, you know, was crazy to me and awesome. So I did 90 meetings in 90 days. Probably I did more because some days, you know, I felt like I needed another one, or I just did extra, but I definitely did 90 and 90. And these are all on Zoom. I listened to the suggestions and tried to come early and stay late whenever I could. And I really, really listened. Anyone in the architects meeting can tell you I probably didn't speak for like 6 months, like other than saying hi and, you know, my time, like how much time I had, and you know, maybe sharing little bits, but I think people thought I was mute. So I really took in a lot. I listened a lot. I got women's numbers and I gave mine out, and I forced myself to call people, even though, you know, that was really scary to me, you know. I've always been pretty outgoing, but I just like with this, it's such a vulnerable thing, and I don't know, it was tough, you know. People, what do they say? It weighs 100 pounds or something about how heavy the phone can be, and I understand that now, you know. So I have worked my entire program virtually and long distance. My sponsor is in Georgia. But I've never felt a lack of connection. That first night we talked after that meeting in Orlando, I think we talked definitely over an hour, and we just, you know, it wasn't even all just recovery stuff. We just talked and hit it off, and I felt like, oh, this is like one of my people, you know. But it still took me 3 weeks to like ask her to be my sponsor. Felt like asking somebody out. But yeah, I do service several times a week, which has really made me feel connected, and has been really, you know, rewarding and a great part of my program, I think. And every day still now, even though I have a little bit of time, I make sure to talk to somebody else in the program every day, you know. Not a day goes by where I don't at least talk to somebody. I still pretty much go to a meeting every day, but I definitely make sure that I check in with my, you know, recovery sisters and support. I have a network of women that I can call, and regular meetings that I like to go to, including architects. And I have a morning meeting that I go to that has been awesome for me too. And I even have a sponsee now who is not located in New York, and we've never met. So that's amazing. And yeah, I actually still have not been to an in-person meeting. I found one that is on Thursday nights. And I think if I can get, you know, if I could get my mom to babysit, because I still don't trust anybody to babysit Levi, I'm gonna give it a try, because I've heard that it's, you know, the hugs are great and all that, and that it's good to do an in-person meeting. But yeah, Zoom and these virtual meetings saved my life, because there was no way that I was going to take my premature baby to a meeting. None were even open around me anyway. But it just wasn't an option for me. And Zoom was. And I still feel like the connection with everybody, even though we're on the screen. I did get one NA hug. Somebody from the Georgia meeting actually came. She was visiting family up here and came, and I've had an NA hug, and they're good. But yeah, and I maintain my recovery by having regular contact with my sponsor and my network, attending meetings almost daily. When I don't go, I feel like something's missing, and I'm gonna just keep coming every day until I don't, feel like that. But for now, that it's working, so I'm not gonna stop. I work steps virtually with my sponsor and with my sponsee. And yeah, I think that's really all I got. I ended up just winging it and rambling, but I wrote like 6 pages of things to talk about. I don't know where I am on time. But I look forward to coming down to Georgia and actually meeting people in person and getting some of these NA hugs. And I am just so thankful to this program that saved my life. I now have relationships, like real relationships with people that are not based on like what they can get me or what they're not like these transactional surface level relationships. I'm closer with my family. I see my parents every week, unless they're away or something. And they see my son and they get to be in his life. They gave me the key back to their house, which always gets me. Like I feel like I can look in the mirror now and I can be trusted, and I have integrity today that I didn't have, and I feel like I'm becoming the woman I was meant to be and that I've always really been inside, but my disease didn't allow me to be. And yeah, I'm just so grateful to this program and to Zoom for allowing me to get recovery, and to be there for my son. So he didn't have to see me in active addiction. He was, I don't know, like 6 weeks old maybe when I came here. So he's only known me like this, maybe sometimes I'm a mess, but for the most part, he knows a good mom who he can rely on. And, I think that's about it. Yeah, I'll just keep rambling or reading my 6 pages that I wrote and didn't really end up using. But thank you so much for this opportunity. This is one of the greatest honors of my life to be able to share my experience with other people, and I hope that somebody got something from what I shared. Thank you so much, and I love you all. Mwah.
Thank you, Rachel. Love you back. I know you were nervous, but that was fantastic. So can we have some jazz hands, please, for Rachel? Thank you so much, dear. All right. Well, we have actually quite a bit of time left, about 35 minutes. And so we're going to open it up for sharing. Even though we do have 35 minutes, there are a fair amount of people here online and in the room. And So we want everybody to get a chance who wants to share. So let's limit shares to between 3 and 5 minutes, if you would, please. If you wish to speak and you're an online participant, raise your virtual hand and I will call on you. And likewise, if you're in the room, just talk to one of the folks there that's helping with this, and they can, unmute and let me know that somebody in the room would like to speak, because I can't see all y'all. And anyway, so the room is now open for sharing. We do have a hand up here online. Sarah, would you like to unmute and share?
Yeah, thank you, Lisa. I'm an addict named Sarah. I'm really happy to be here. Hi, beautiful humans. Rachel, I love you so, so, so much. Like, I'm so honored, like, that you came into my life. That I met you at my home group, that, you're a sprout in my life. And it's just been so fucking phenomenal. Like, I fully believe in the power of the Zoom platform. I do not think that it is different in the sense of the core aspect. What I think is really phenomenal is humans getting clean on the screen, don't know it any other way. And I think that's so awesome. I got clean years prior to the pandemic happening, but I know the magic of being able to share like real love and connection, and video chatting, and everyone that I sponsor doesn't live in my state either. And I would have never met them if it weren't for the Zoom platform. And, even beautiful humans I've had the honor of sponsoring that have, moved on and gotten sponsors, and, and I still get to see them in my life. And, it's endless possibilities living in the 21st century. Anything is possible, but I just want to say how much I love you, how much I love Levi. Like, I really do love when I'm able to connect with other moms, and I have all these nieces and nephews, and get pictures and videos, and just it's the best ever. So I send all my love to you, and you are amazing. By the way, email me those 6 pages you didn't read, and I'll take inventory on them. No, I'm just kidding. I love you so much. I swear to God, I love you. I knew you probably had a whole stack of notes just knowing you. Look at your sponsor. She's like, yeah, I thought it was 12. But I love you. I really do. And you knock this alive, girl. You always do. You always do. So much love for you, and thanks for letting me share, everyone.
Thank you, Sarah. Paul, would you like to unmute and share?
I'd love to. Thank you, Lisa. My name is Paul, and I am an addict. It's only by the grace of a higher power and the fellowship of Narcotics Anonymous that I didn't have to use today. For that, I'm truly grateful. Architects of Adversity is my home group, and I'm so very proud of that. Sean is like a, I don't know how to describe it, like a brother from another mother, I guess is how they'd say it. We share so much, and a lot of it has very little to do with recovery. We talk a lot of times about other things, fishing and cars and puzzles and hiking in the woods, but recovery gets involved every once in a while. But it's, I was so blessed to have wandered into Architects at the beginning of the pandemic and found a home, because I too was one of those who was like, what am I going to do now that this pandemic's going on? And where am I going to find my recovery now that I have to sit alone at home? And I was wandering the Zoom universe, and I wandered into Architects, and suddenly I'm there. You know, and a lot of people go, what do you mean your home group is in Georgia? And I'm like, yeah, my home group is in Georgia. It's because I found a home in Georgia. You know, I found a home amongst my brothers and sisters in there. And then Rachel came and joined our family. And Rachel, dear, I love you so much. You know, I remember that shy, quiet lady who just, you know, she could hardly turn her camera on. And the first time you chaired the meeting, the first time you were the one that had to do the just for today and share on it, how scared you were and how beautiful it was. And I love you so much, and I love Levi so much, and how you've allowed me to become part of your life. You know, Uncle Paul loves Levi so much. And you know, that's the beautiful thing about Narcotics Anonymous. We get to be family of choosing. And if you're lucky enough and you put enough into it. And I'm so grateful for that. I'm so very grateful for that, for both of you. I'm so grateful for both of you. And yes, it was my fault. I told Lisa, look, Lisa, you got to come to my home group. It's beautiful. You know, you got to check it out, because I knew Lisa from Indiana. So I drug her there too, because I love Lisa so much. But anyway, I'll take credit for that one because I love her so very much. She's so dear to me. That's what I love about NA, is even though it seems like it's a huge, big world, it's really not. We really are a very tight-knit, close family. If you'll get in and you'll get to be part of it, and you'll just jump in full, you know, feet first, you can really be part of one of the most beautiful families ever. That's all I really got to say. Love you all so much. Thank you.
Love you, Paul. Thank you. All right, Cat B.
Hey family, I'm an addict called Kat, Georgia Regional Convention. Thank you for your service. Lisa, thank you for your service. Sean, thank you for your service. Rachel, thank you for your service. And those were awesome shares. I got so much out of both of you. You know, like, I really have learned a lot from sitting in Architects over the time I've been clean, and like really benefited from long timers who have the willingness to just show up and be like consistent and committed in their recovery. You know, like as a newcomer, I need to see that. Like, it doesn't matter if I don't show up to that meeting for 6 months, you guys are always there. Like, you're there. Like, I could show up like one random month or whatever, not come for 6 months. Like, you're still there. Like, holy shit. Like, that's some commitment, you know? And like, I don't know, there's a lot to be said for just like picking somewhere and sticking, like in NA. I know for like myself, I guess I'm still like young and wily in my recovery. I get complacent. And so I try to change my home group once a year. Like, that's kind of like my time span. So I've had a couple different home groups on Zoom, like throughout the pandemic. I did not get clean on the screen. I will probably had like maybe, I don't know, like 20 months or something when the pandemic hit. So I was like still really young and clean and crazy, and was like, oh shit, like, well, you know, what am I going to do? And my in-person meeting decided they weren't going to follow any kind of directions or suggestions, and they were just going to keep meeting in person and not wearing masks. And I was like, I can't do this, you guys. I love you, but I'm out, you know, because I had some people who love me had called me and said, hey, we're all on Zoom. You know, I mean, and it was like so quick. It was like, it was just such a like an awesome thing. And like thank God, like I mean, every higher power that addicts are so resourceful. I mean, it was probably like the day that everything shut down and like we were on Zoom, like meeting, you know, I mean, that's really cool. And then I mean, I really was skeptical when you all told me like, hey, if you stick around, if you work the steps, like if you be of service and like you learn how to love yourself, one day another one of you is going to walk through the door. And like, if you're not consistent and committed, like, you know, like it's not about me, you know? And like, I was really skeptical. I was like, whatever. Like, I hate it when I'm going through something and someone's like, oh, well, you're going to go through this, you're going to get through it. And then like you're going to meet someone someday and they're going to be going through it. And then you can help them. I'm like, yeah, that's not what I want to hear when I'm actually going through it. But like, sure enough, that's exactly what happened, you know? And like, man, I'm so grateful like for Zoom that I can be on a random meeting in Florida and meet some girl from New York and just like absolutely fall in love with her because I'm like, oh my gosh, like hello self, you know? Like what a cool experience, you know? Like that's all higher power. Like I can't conjure something up like that in my wildest dreams. And like it has been so beautiful. Like I've learned so much from Rachel about things that I can do in my recovery virtually to help me stay connected, to stay protected. Like you've taught me about how to listen. Like all I know how to do is run my mouth, you know, so we're a good balance. But like, man, I've learned so much from like members that are sitting in this meeting, and like some of y'all I've known like the whole time I've been clean. So like, that's really cool that like to see y'all in here, and I love you so much. Like I cried the whole time. So I love you. That was beautiful. Thank you all for your service. And that's that.
Thank you, Kat. Great to see you. All right, Dominic.
Hi everyone, I'm Dominique, I'm an addict. Thank you everyone for your service. Oh, got a spotlight, interesting. I've not been recorded when I've been sharing before, strange. Yeah, thank you so much for your share, Sean and Rachel. I apologise, I missed most of your share. Busy tonight with a last minute thing that I've got tomorrow, but yeah, I managed to have all of your share, Rachel, and I'm so proud of you. Like, can you believe, everyone? I'm gonna drop you in it in front of all these people. Sorry, Rach. Yesterday, like, we were talking on Zoom that this was happening, not on Zoom, on WhatsApp that this was happening, and all Rachel could say was how scared she was, that she didn't think she had a message or anything to offer, and you are the message. Like you are the message. Like I've been in absolute awe of you since I met you. Well, I haven't met you in person, but you know, since I've known you, and it's been a while now. It's probably about a year and a half, I think, maybe a bit longer, I don't know. And part of the reason I'm here now is because of you. Like, I don't think you realize like the impact you have on people and how much you help. Like, have an aura about you that's just pure kindness, and like I feel that you care, like you care, and I felt that from the very beginning. And you know, I remember, well, we didn't really know each other at all. I don't think we were in the same sponsorship family. We used to be like sponsor sisters, and like I'd been in there for about a week and a half, and I was like losing my mind. I was in the middle of a really bad panic attack. I didn't know what to do, and I kind of made that risk of just like throwing in that group because I didn't know what else to do, that it was happening. And you called me like straight away, and knowing how you feel about phone calls and how anxious that makes you. And back then, when you were fairly newly clean and I was a stranger, like you called me and you talked me down from that panic attack, and you helped me like so much. And that was I think that was my first like eye-opening experience, like in NA and within like this sponsorship family that I found myself in, that people really did care, like, and people could help me and could hold me up. I tried to go to some NA meetings before the pandemic, and I could never really get with it. Like I've I've got some mental health difficulties as well, and I struggle with social anxiety and all of that stuff I'm thinking about for a long time, in an in-person meeting before I get comfortable. I'm thinking about how close everyone is to me. I'm thinking about like where the exits are and just things that I don't need to think about and that I don't have to think about on this Zoom platform. Like I'm in the comfort of my own space, and sometimes it's easier to get distracted and not be as present as maybe I would be if I was in a room and I was getting a hug. But I found recovery on the screen. Like I tried to come for a few years before it was on Zoom, and I couldn't get it. I've always said it's just what blows my mind, like the level of disconnection, like the biggest global disconnection I've ever witnessed. I think probably the world has witnessed in a very, very long time, right? And somehow it connected me to people that I would never have met, allowed me to open up and do work that I never thought possible, and get a recovery that I didn't think I could get. Like, Zoom saved my life, or NA saved my life, but NA and Zoom, this thing, like, obviously we're not affiliated with Zoom, it's just like the room, but I'm very grateful that this platform exists and that it's linked me with someone like you, and you, Paul, and you, Kat, and Trina. Yeah, I'm so grateful to see some familiar faces in here, and yeah, I'm just so proud of you. Like, we're family, you're my sister, and whether we're still in the same sponsorship tree or not, and I'm terrible at isolating and being in touch, and I'm just really struggle to be a connected human being, but I'm trying, and I love you, and I'm keeping you. You're my sister. All right, I love you.
Thank you so much, Dominique. Rose.
Hello, family. My name is Rose. I'm an addict. I'm very grateful to be here. Oh my God. Okay, that thing happened. I will. Okay, good. I'm not used to seeing my face that big on a screen. That's very strange. But yes, I'm very grateful to be here, and as always, I'm grateful to be clean and to not have the desire to use today. Rachel and Sean, my God, I got so much from your shares, both of your shares, and all of the shares before me too, just fills me with so much joy that today we can all be together in different parts of the world and recover all together. What are the chances that we would meet outside of this setting, it just amazes me when I think about that. Zoom has definitely changed my life. I could never get any amount of sustainable recovery before I found these meetings, Today I have more meaningful connections than I've ever had in my life. And I know that whenever I'm feeling like I'm losing my mind, there's always someone, always. And I'm so grateful for that. There's a few familiar faces in this meeting. Paul, Rachel, Kat, Trina, there's a lot of people that I'm just in awe of what this program can do, and that today we can reach so many people. Rachel, you have so much to give, so much to give. And yeah, for me, I'm sorry, I'm very tired and I'm very emotional, so I struggle to know what exactly I want to say, but going into these Zoom meetings and finding NA and recovery and having a sponsor, it has truly given me a life now, you know? And yesterday I was talking with someone, and because I was going through a major crisis in my head, and he just said to me, practice being grateful. You decide to be grateful. And I realized that it was something that was missing from my life recently. And now hearing all of your shares and feeling the love that everyone has for this program and for each other, it just reunites me with my love for the world and for this program too, and with my love for life, for this life that I've been given because of this program. I don't know if I make much sense, but I just want to say that just because I cannot hug you in person does not mean that you don't make a difference in my life. And I'm just eternally grateful for all of you who helped me stay clean a day at a time. Thank you all for your message, and I love you all. That's all I got.
Thank you so much, Rose. As I can't, as I said before, I can't see anybody there in the room. You're all little bitty tiny. Does anybody in the physical room wish to share? Just get a hold of one of the volunteers if you want to. Okay, well, while people are deciding whether or not they're going to share some more, I'll go ahead and share. Some. Oh, wait, somebody's there. I didn't see your hand, darling.
It's
Please go
okay.
ahead.
I'm not in the, I'm in my car, so I'm not actually in a room, and I'm not
I don't
definitely
care.
not in Georgia. I'm Mary Quinn. I'm gratefully recovering and really glad to be on here tonight. Thank you. And I'll brush my way in anyway. Some of you probably know that about me, but I'm really grateful to be here tonight and grateful for an opportunity to participate in GRCNA. I'm sitting in my car in Fargo, North Dakota, where I now live. And so it's snowing, huge snowflakes. And I was getting in my car and feeling a bit disconnected, and thought, you know what, Mary Quinn, just get your butt online, find the virtual site, and log into whatever meeting is going on, because there's one going on right now. And you and I both know that. And I hopped on, and I've just heard so much gratitude shared. And, you know, my recovery has been just like an amazing experience and journey, and finding me all over the country, all over the world, really, to be honest. And through this opportunity that virtual meetings have presented, I now have been able to stay connected in a place where my anonymity is really important. And so I have remained, I don't know who it was said, stick and stay, may have been Paul, to your home group. And I was ready to leave my home group in June because they were still virtual. And I was like, I want an in-person, 2 months later, I found out I'm moving, and my sponsor, who had smartly said to me, you know, maybe being in a virtual meeting is on purpose for you for some reason right now. And suddenly that became really, really clear and apparent. Hey, Jay. Hey, Seth. And as a result of that, I have been able to stay connected. I've been able to stay connected with my sponsor. I've been able to, you know, just find these wonderful voicemails from my sponsees. I've been able, and I just have to share this story because this is how my higher power works in my life. One of the first things I connected with here was a masseuse. I was like, I need body work. And so I find this masseuse, and I'm like, God, this guy is amazing. And he's literally down the hall from my office, like too good to be true. So I've been going every other week. And just this week, I decided, you know, we started chatting a little more, and he kept saying his spiritual advisor. And I finally said, how did you meet them? And he said, well, you know, it was at a point in my life when I started to really kind of change my life and make a decision. And I was like, is your spiritual advisor your sponsor? And he was like, yeah. And I said, are we talking 12 step? And he said, yeah. And I said, I have 17 and a half years clean. And he just started crying. I was face down, but I could actually hear him crying. And he said later after the session, you know, I was feeling really alone this morning and in that place where I couldn't figure out why I was here. So when you said that, it was like, my God, my higher power talking directly to me. And as a result of that, I'm going to an in-person meeting with him on Saturday morning at 9:30. And I'm so excited. So I'm grateful for all of you. And thank you to all the trusted servants for holding down the fort. And thank you to all who are just out there praying for the still suffering addict in and out of these rooms, because that can be me sometimes. And so your prayers are very much appreciated. I love you all very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mary. That's great. Well, I'm not seeing any hands up at the moment, so I will go ahead and share. My name's Lisa. I'm an addict. And again, grateful to be here and clean. Really, really glad to have this opportunity to do some service. I've heard so many things that I could relate to tonight, and you know, there's more than one person in this room, more than a few people in this room, I think, that got clean on the screen without telling his story. My friend Glenn, that I asked to speak to do the traditions from England, is somebody who began his recovery on the virtual rooms, and here we are, friends, you know, 3 years later. I on the other hand have been always, you know, I've been in recovery for, you know, several decades, and I'm used to having, you know, the hugs and things and all of that after the meetings, and hanging out and having dinner with people and coffee with people and yada yada. And I tell you, I've always been grateful to NA, and I don't think there's an end to being grateful. But you know, the bloom was off the rose a little by the time the pandemic had hit. You know, and I've done all my recovery in the same town, and we're not that big of a town, so you see the same faces of the people that stayed alive, same old faces. And I was kind of about NA until the pandemic hit, and immediately my interest in NA started reviving, because, as someone else mentioned, I was just absolutely flabbergasted at how fast, you know, this virtual recovery thing sprang up. I'm like, there's a bunch of dope fiends, you know, and like they're doing this thing, you know, they've got their act together. And honestly, I think that NA has had its act more together about doing the virtual thing than just about any other group of people I've encountered. It's kind of astonishing, but maybe that's just how much recovery means to us. So that was, you know, like a recharge number one right there. And second recharge was realizing that we really are a worldwide fellowship. You know, as I said, I've done all my recovery in one sort of medium-sized town. It becomes easy to become provincial. And I'm suddenly, you know, in meetings in other countries and various places around the United States. And I'm thinking, wow, yeah, you know, there's how many of us in how many countries? Oh my God. And gee, guess what? People do things differently in different places, and that's okay. The world doesn't stop spinning. It's not wrong. It's just, how somebody does something. And I got to meet all of these people and make all these friends. As Paul mentioned, he brought me here to Georgia, and I actually met Paul, who doesn't live anywhere near New York. I met him in a meeting in Brooklyn, which of course I'm nowhere near. And that's how I wound up coming to Georgia, was through the Brooklyn meeting, which I remained part of, and in fact was made an official home group member and an official Brooklynite until they went back to exclusively in person a few months ago. And I still miss them, but I stay in touch with them. I stay in touch with individual people. I still go every Friday afternoon to my meeting in England that Glenn is a home group member of. And I try and get every Tuesday to my meeting in Georgia. And I was absolutely floored and grateful that people who had the opportunity to go to their physical home group said, we have a home group online too, and took up this responsibility and this great opportunity to continue our virtual meeting while still having that physical group. Another thing that blew me away is that, and I started actually in the architects meeting, of meeting people who have been around longer than I have. In my hometown, that's pretty much not been the case. I got clean in '84. And, I just kind of like the NA old timer here in this town. And suddenly I'm meeting people like Motorcycle Ed. and it was, I think, through the meeting in Georgia that I found out about the meeting in Paradise, California, where they had people coming and speaking, people like Ed, who had been involved in the production of our literature in the late 70s and early 80s, people whose stories appear in the basic text. And, their stories were read and then they spoke from years down the road. They spoke on this virtual platform. That gave me chills. It really just gave me chills to be able to hear somebody's story from back when and then hear them today, still clean, still here. It's a fantastic experience. So the depth and the breadth and the extent of this this fellowship just hit me over the head. And in a more practical vein, I've heard a lot of people tonight address circumstances in their lives or about themselves that have nothing to do with pandemic, that make it difficult to get to a meeting in person. And I think this is just, well, I'll say it, a godsend to have an opportunity like this. As the Living Clean book has demonstrated, we're an aging fellowship. I am an aging addict. God willing, I'll be 70 in June. And I was still a young woman when I got here. Not that now. And I'm kind of beat up and, physically, and not in the greatest position to always be able to get out and hop around to meetings the way that I used to, let alone do something like travel to a convention. No, that ain't happening. So, there's just so many reasons, so many, is more than I can think of, I'm sure, why something like this is just a wonderful opportunity. And I thank and I bless all of the people who make something like this possible. We still have time for one or two more short shares. If anybody wants to say anything before we wrap up here.
There's somebody here in the room that's going to speak.
Fantastic.
Right here?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm Chantel, I'm an addict.
Hi.
Can you guys hear me on the screen?
I can.
Good. Welcome. I am grateful to be clean today. I want to thank the trusted servants. And so I'm here in Georgia at the convention. Never been to Georgia before. Because the pandemic hit, how the world distributed information about our events changed. So I was on a particular social media platform and I saw this convention. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna come down. And so I'm here and I come, you know, I pick up my registration and I'm literally in the building for less than 5 minutes. And I run into a guy who lives in New York, who I've been listening to on a virtual platform over the course of the last 3 years. You know, and the miracles, right? You guys told me don't leave 5 minutes before the miracle happens. So as I'm sitting in this meeting, I was just in merchandise before I came in the meeting. And then I remember, like, I have a friend who her clean date is March the 21st, 2020. So in a couple of days, she'll be celebrating 3 years clean. She got clean on the screen, you know, and I remember like sending her medallion in the mail and she's still clean. So I ran back to merchandise to get her a card to send to her, right? Our literature says that there are as many ways to recover as there are recovering addicts. And so, you know, like I work in an industry where I would be like stuck at work because of weather conditions. And so I had to find different ways to hear our message, right? And I went to a particular platform and I would find NA speakers and I would listen to them. And as I listened to these speakers, as I kept coming and making different conventions in different places, I would meet them, right? I also tapped into our phone line meetings because we still meet on the phone. You know, there are people who can't, they can't navigate technology for whatever reason. They live in the sticks, maybe they're in a nursing home or rehab facility, you know, where they can't get to or in-person meetings are like sparse, you know? So one thing I know, that honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness is always applicable. The basics are always applicable no matter where you're at in your recovery, right? So pre-pandemic, I wanted to get on this East Coast Convention Committee. They met on this particular platform. And let me just say, like, so when we meet on a platform, it's a virtual meeting because we don't endorse a particular platform, right? I'm talking about our traditions. So, you know, this particular platform is not the only platform that we have our virtual Narcotics Anonymous meetings on. We have a few other platforms as well, right? But it's only through keep coming and knowledge and understanding and step work and service work, you know, do you get an understanding of this? And so I'm just really grateful because when the pandemic hit, it was like, all right, well, what do I need to do? Because I'm the addict that went to any length to get whatever it was that I was looking for, you know, and that same energy and tenacity that I put into, you know, a 19-year active addiction, y'all told me chase your recovery like you chase that stuff, right? And now I've been clean longer than I used drugs. And so I'm grateful that I can go anywhere in the world and not know anybody and be welcome and loved, right? Because I'm an addict seeking recovery. So this is my first time here in Georgia. I made a regularly scheduled meeting when I, you know, first got here early in the morning. I probably won't be back to Georgia because there's so many other places that I can go, you know, and I'm seeking recovery. Like I've been to Connecticut, Chicago, and Detroit, and I'm not just talking about virtual. I'm talking about, you know, networking and making conventions and meeting people, right? And then when the pandemic hit, creating a text and sending a link and people that I know from California and Seattle, Washington, and Florida, and we're all in one meeting, you know? So I don't know, I'm flabbergasted. I'm going to get my recovery however I need to get it. If I got to call on the phone and read the literature with the addicts, if I got to come to the in-person, if I got to make the hybrid, if I got to make, You know, at work, I make virtual meetings all day, every day. There's more than one way. So if I have more than one way, I can have my way more often. Our message here in Narcotics Anonymous is that addict, any addict, can stop using drugs, lose the desire to use, and find a new way to live. It's a message of hope and a promise of freedom. And that's all we truly have to give. And oh, what freedom it is. Thanks for allowing me to share.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you so much. Well, folks, we have come to the end of sharing